Hey folks, welcome to the show as we review one of the lowest shooting affairs I've seen, and certainly the lowest shooting affair of all the round one matchups this year. It's Vancouver and Nashville. Vancouver won the series in 6 games. There was only combined 45 shots per game between the two teams, and keep in mind the average shots per game during the course of the regular season for a single team, not combined, was about 30. Nashville Nashville averaged 25 shots a game compared to Vancouver's 20 shots a game, but Vancouver scored 13 goals versus Nashville's 12, and won 4 games versus Nashville's 2, which is what matters. So in game 1, both shooting totals were very low. Nashville led 24-21, but Vancouver won 4-2. Demko was in net for that game, but was injured, which seems to be common for Vancouver goalies in recent playoff history. And by recent, I mean about last 10 years, which there isn't much of, but there is some there. And then, so Casey DeSmith comes in. Casey DeSmith isn't the goalie you want going in the playoffs, but he's been a serviceable backup throughout the year, especially when he plays the Oilers for some reason. And Vancouver and Nashville once again have a very low shooting affair. Shots are only 18-16 for Vancouver, but Nashville scores 4 goals to Vancouver's 1, despite only having 16 shots. So obviously there's some worry here. It's a series of split going into Nashville. Vancouver's missing their starting goalie, but at the same time, UC Saros is not looking like UC Saros. I've talked about how I think that has to do with workload issues. He's been the most used and most shot at goalie in the last 3 years. So it was only a matter of time for him to start slowing down. So Nashville had to do what they could to protect UC Saros, and similarly Vancouver was doing the same because they didn't want to overextend Thatcher Demko in game 1, and they did because Demko's had injury issues. He's a great goalie, but he's had injury issues. And then they didn't want to do the same to Casey DeSmith because he's not a starting goalie and has injury issues. And then after game 3, so first game in Nashville, Vancouver wins, yahoo! They win 2-1, despite being outshot 30-12 by Nashville. And Casey DeSmith is also injured, so now Vancouver has to turn to Arturs Shilovs. Now, Kelly Hrudey with Sportsnet, who is a goalie himself, a very good goalie himself, talked about the mentality of Shilovs, which is something very interesting to me. Goaltender mentality, as a goalie myself, is very fascinating to me. And he talks about how Shilovs, who mentioned himself in some interviews, is used to championship natures. He's been to championships, not with the Canucks, obviously, but he's played in these big moments before. Additionally, unlike more veteran goalies, he doesn't have any baggage, as Hrudey called it, of mistakes, of past mistakes. Shilovs doesn't have major mistakes, or he's never been upset in the National Hockey League. This is a fresh slate for him, too. So he just had to be calm, and he was. And Vancouver does win their first game with Shilovs to make the series 3-1 in Nashville, with a 4-3 win over Nashville despite being outshot 30-21. Game 5, DeSmith is healthy-ish, but they put him as backup because he's not that healthy. And again, they won with Shilovs, so we'll go with it. But they didn't win with Shilovs this time. The shots were only 22-20 for Nashville, and Nashville won 2-1. Game 6, shooting was a bit more. Both Shilovs and Saros had more use, and Saros looked really good. It was I think it was Saros' best game of the series. But it was also Shilovs. Shilov gets the shutout. 1-0 is the final score. Vancouver Canucks clinching the series. It's their first round 1 win since the last time they've been in the playoffs, like 3 or 4 years ago. So congrats to the Canucks, unfortunately for me, because I'm an Oilers fan. It's a different video. But when we'll talk about goaltending and going forward for Vancouver and all that kind of stuff after we finish with the series here. So looking at the stats that I've compiled here, you're free to look through them, obviously, if you haven't already. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but they all are all very close. There isn't like a huge lead or major discrepancy between either team in any category. Excuse me. Nashville did block a bit more, but Vancouver had a better shooting percentage, and Nashville did have 9 more power play opportunities, but still only had 2 power play goals, just as many as Vancouver did. But otherwise, it was both teams playing very defensive hockey, making sure to protect their goalies as much as possible, because the goalies are either young or inexperienced or have been leaky or all of the above. So that's what it came down to, and eventually Vancouver won out and move on to play the Edmonton Oilers in round 2. So let's talk about Nashville first and how they move on from here. Andrew Burnett was recently named as one of the nominees for the Jack Adams Trophy, which I understand. I completely it was a small surprise for me because he wasn't in my top 3, and I didn't see too much discussion about it. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, no, I can understand. Nashville, this is a good year for Nashville. Could have been better, and you would have liked. You're probably annoyed if you're a Predators fan that the one time not the one time you're in the playoffs, but like you're finally back in the playoffs, and after a long 1-year wait or whatever, and Saros doesn't perform. But part of that is because of an over-reliance on Saros, which might be, hopefully, is relieved. I would hope for his sake and the Predators' sake that he isn't used too heavily next year. He'll still be the starter, of course, but maybe Lankinen will get more starts, or Askarov, or, we'll see what they decide. But a lot of the moves that didn't seem too consequential for Nashville worked out. Ryan O'Reilly's been a great fit for the Nashville Predators. Philip Forsberg has been amazing, and so has Roman Josi, who is also nominated for a trophy as the best defenseman in the league. So I think there's lots of hope going forward for Nashville, but you also know that there isn't as much time for Nashville because it's not like they're a rebuilding team. This is a retooling team, and I have lots of hopes if I was a Predators fan for their retooling. As for Vancouver, they are also coming off of a year where they missed the playoffs, and it was a lot more embarrassing for them. But then they won the division, almost won the league, almost won the President's Trophy for best team in the regular season. They had an incredible year despite middling underlying numbers. And now they play a team, which I will do a full review for, or preview for, who has incredible underlying numbers, but they also beat 4 out of 4 times. My short opinion really quick without going to a full preview of the Edmonton Oilers and Vancouver Canucks series, is Vancouver can't play the way they did against Nashville against Edmonton. They gave Nashville 22 power play opportunities. Edmonton is not scoring just 2 power play goals. They were 9 for 20 against one of the league's best penalty killing units, and it could have been much higher. And Vancouver, they did allow a few high danger shot opportunities to Nashville, and Edmonton will get a lot more. So Vancouver is going to have to get back into their high efficiency form, and by efficiency I mean it different from Carolina, where Carolina has a ton of shots for versus shots against. For Vancouver, it's having a very high shooting and save percentage, which is hard to do. It's hard to attain, but it is possible, as Canucks have been doing through most of the year. Part of it is also protecting Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes was bullied quite a bit throughout the series, and the Oilers are coming off of a series where they were just bullying Drew Doughty. Doughty did manage 2 goals, but Doughty's a lot bigger than Quinn Hughes. Now, I love Quinn Hughes. I don't want this to be like a huge insult on him, but like, he needs to prepare, or the Canucks need to prepare to score without him, because he's going to get hit a lot. This isn't the regular season where guys are trying to protect themselves for the next game, because there might not be a next game. So we'll see how that goes. But again, at the same time, Canucks won 4 out of 4 games against the Oilers this year, to great displeasure for me. Whatever, that's another video, which you'll see sooner if you subscribe and turn on notifications. You can also like this video. I would really appreciate that. And comment your thoughts down below. I'm happy to read them. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.